Welcome back to the Traffic Syndicate interview series. I'm Mike Filsame, and on behalf of Jesse Dobeck and Groove, we are thrilled to bring you our next expert, Peter Delle. In this episode, you're going to learn from a real-life digital marketing trailblazer.
I knew how to use Facebook. The people in the office didn't know how to use Facebook. And so that's going to be a real competitive advantage for you professionally and then also for your clients.
Peter's journey began in extreme poverty, leading him to hustle early on in the world of Facebook ads, where he's managed monumental ad budgets. He's worked on political campaigns. He's delved deep into the real estate sector, and he's carved out a niche inside of the financial ads sector. You're going to discover how he cracked the code to manage multi-million-dollar ad budgets, the art of optimizing even the smallest ad campaigns, and his unique approach to understanding target audiences.
When you're working with $1 million budget, right? 3 efficiency here, 1 efficiency here, it can be a big game changer.
Peter's insights are not only theoretical, they're born out of real world experiences and staggering successes that you can apply. So buckle up as we dive into a conversation filled with actionable strategies, transformative ideas, and a no-nonsense approach to digital marketing that could redefine your business trajectory. Let's welcome Peter Delle. All right, Peter, let's jump on in. Do me a favor. Tell me, I understand that you're one of these people that started your career like right out of the gate, maybe a part-time job when you were a kid, but you started out in digital marketing. How'd you get your start, and what was life like when you first got started?
Yeah, so I grew up in extreme poverty, right? So I was always just like out there hustling. I started doing these like social media jobs where I'm running Facebook ads for some fairly large companies, right? Because I knew how to use Facebook. The people in the office didn't know how to use Facebook. And so I was running Facebook for some political campaigns, a real estate office. I worked with a lot of realtors when I first got started. I did a lot with the real estate and property management industry.
What was it about Facebook that made you say, because there was a lot of different ways to do it. There was YouTube, there was, everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Obviously, there was SEO, there was pay-per-click. What was it about Facebook that drew you in and that made you say, yeah, I kind of get how this works?
I think that it's kind of one of these outlier experiences, right? For me, I went into college right as Facebook was catching on, right? And so when I was entering the job market and going and getting some of these even like side hustle type gigs, I was competing against people who didn't even have a Facebook account, right? And so like I had no business having the opportunities I had at that time. Part of it was just like knocking on the doors and hustling for it, right? But the other half of it is like, I'm this expert on social media when it's like, I'm just like figuring it out, right? And so I'm speaking to conferences of realtors where it's probably 2,000 realtors in the room and speaking to these professional trade groups where it's like, I'm just figuring out a Facebook business page on my own. So we did a lot more than just Facebook, but I think that timing really helped me on Facebook. It's like Bill Gates having access to a computer. That's kind of where I entered my career, is right at this time where Facebook is now suddenly catching on. And luckily Facebook caught on for some time, right? And so I could ride that wave into bigger opportunities.
Yeah, so when you got started with Facebook, you weren't necessarily reaching out to digital marketers on ClickBank and saying, hey, let me run your ads. You were doing more the grassroots, knock on the door type of marketing and saying to a local business owner, because I heard you mention like real estate agents, political clients. In fact, tell me, how did you get a politician?
I interned for a congresswoman. So that was like one of my real first professional experiences, is I interned for a congresswoman. And then that led me to this political campaign that she kind of supported, right? It was some initiative. And so then I started working for them. And then also through her, I met this guy who ran the biggest real estate company franchise in Northern California. And so then I'm running ads for him. And it all kind of was a series of opportunities that got open just as a function of working for the congresswoman.
Awesome. All right. So now you're playing around with real estate agents, politicians, local businesses. This is a far cry from managing $250 million in ads, or you and your partner managing $500 million in ads. What was it that sparked that event when you would say, holy cow, I just cracked the code? Like, do you remember a certain point where like you went and hockey sticked, like because you found out something that helped you crack the code?
So the big thing for me wasn't like a discovery like that, but rather an opportunity. So I started working at Build.com. It's a $1 billion e-commerce retailer, started managing paid search. So at that time, Facebook was in the early days, right? Like very early days on Facebook, but Google ads had been kind of built up. And so I used this experience on Facebook ads. I went and got this job running PPC, where we're running 6 figures ad budgets really early in my career, right? I think this is like year 2 or year 3, and we have 6-figure budgets that we're managing.
Per client.
Well, it's one e-commerce company. So I'm managing
for that company.
Yeah, I'm in-house. I'm managing this. And it's like boot camp. Right? When you're a $1 billion e-commerce retailer like this, you got 50 paid search managers internally. And me and my business partner met at this e-commerce retailer where we were like just getting started, but we had these huge budgets at our hands where we're managing a whole division or something, right? In terms of the paid search ads. And you're working with the smartest people. Right. Like I still think back on those days, and there's people who I like quote their words in my head, because really we were working with people who had managed at that time, they had managed millions on Google search. Right. And so we're learning from people who've managed these big budgets. We have the opportunity to do it ourselves. And it's, if you do good, you're rewarded for it. Right. You're paid for it. And so we just hustled. That was really the big first thing for us. And that's what taught me how to manage the big budgets. Like, I don't think I could have figured it out on my own, right? Like, I don't think I could have freelanced my way up to where we're at right now. Really learning from people who had done it before in that environment and having the budgets in my hands where you can just go and have a real like experience with it. That was the game changer for me.
And so that means that you learned that if somebody was ready to scale, you were able to figure out that because they had that budget to allow you to explore that. What would you say to someone watching here right now that's never run a Facebook ad or any type of paid ad? What do they need to be prepared for when starting out into running a budget? And can these methods work for the little guy who's selling a $297 course on Thinkific or something like that?
Yeah, I think there's this big jump that happens, right? There's like the people who can set up a Facebook ad or a Google ad, but really they don't know how to optimize it. And then there's the people who know how to optimize. And when we're working with $1 million budget, right, 3% efficiency here or 1% efficiency here, it can be a big game changer. And so I think that those optimization techniques, a lot of times we'll apply those onto small accounts, right? I have some clients who spend $100 a day. And so we take these lessons and apply it on some of those accounts. And it's a game changer because then it's like a 25% added efficiency. And if you're a law firm, getting your lead costs down 25%, that's a game changer, right? And so I think that it's really important wherever you are in your career. I think it's really important to learn these optimizations that you would use if you're managing $1 million, because you're competing against people who don't know how to do that, right? Like if you're just working with a local real estate office, your competition for those Facebook ads, they don't know any of these optimizations. And so that's going to be a real competitive advantage for you professionally and then also for your clients.
Awesome. So if somebody's watching this and they're a newbie, complete noob, but they've got a brain, they've got skills, they've got what I call the $1 in their bank account that they've made online. And I make that distinction because if somebody's made $1 online at their checkout, that means they've got their domain, they've written their sales copy, they've run a webinar, or they made a VSL, they have a checkout, they have a thank you page, they have support, they've created their product. Like you can't make that $97 sale without putting all those things in place. So we have that person, they're confident, they're competent, they've got their joint venture affiliate program set up, they're posting on social media. Now they're starting to make some organic sales. What what would a system look like if you were to, basically try to break this down into like 3 to 4 minutes? Like if you were going to coach somebody with a 5-minute coaching session and say, okay, these are the 5 steps you need to do, or the 6 steps that you need to do to advertise on Facebook for your, let's say, $97 ebook.
That's an interesting question, and it's a little difficult for me because most of the time we're focused on these bigger budgets and building out a more sophisticated plan. But I think that there's some elements that we should talk about. So one of the first things that we do when we build a strategy is we're looking for variables that can be tested, right? If you have all your eggs in one basket, it's almost doomed to fail, right? I would say 100% of the time I see people do that where they have all their eggs in one basket. It doesn't work. And
what do you mean by that? All the eggs in one basket?
I mean, you have one channel, one ad, one set of copy. You're just gambling on one ad hitting. To me, that's not marketing, right? Like things work, things don't work. You have to have a system that allows for that and a system that you can identify the best variables and then double down on it. And so I always map out variables that we can test, whether that's the audience, the type of targeting that we're using, the creative. I always think you have to have a bunch of creative running in there. But I would try to map out these different variables so at least you can pause the bottom half, spend on the better half, and have some directional improvement in performance. So I think that is a big part of it, mapping out these variables. And then I think the second part of it is we're looking at KPIs at various stages, right? Like a lot of times we'll have a funnel where the goal is ROAS, but then we're looking at CPA, we're looking at the cost per initiating a checkout, we're looking at how long people get into the VSL, we're looking at the opt-in rate and the lead cost. And so I would map those out, right? For other funnels, it might be a little bit different, where like maybe the click-through rate, like the click-through rate on the ad is one of the variables you want to optimize around, or the click-through rate from your landing page to an order form. I would map out those numbers and I would get obsessive about improving them, right? Like if you have this funnel, you got to move people through it. And so I would just keep testing things at each step to try to pull that number up and get more people coming through all the way through. And then the other thing is, so even I've been doing this now like 15 years, right? I think I know a thing or two about the funnel flows that work, the funnel flows I've seen don't work. All the time, I'm wrong, right? All the time I run a funnel and I think that's not going to work, and then it works, or vice versa. And so I would test different funnel flows, right? Like a lot of times when we map something out, we go straight to the order form, or we go to the opt-in page, we go to various steps there and then test different flows, which I kind of think goes back to having multiple variables to test there. And then a new thing that I would recommend now within the last year is leverage some of these AI tools to just get more variants out there. Testing is essential. And now we have these tools that allow us to test a bunch of different ad headlines and tools that allow you to do predictive modeling off of it. So you can take your current Facebook ads data, throw 1,000 headlines that you ran through ChatGPT, and then get a predictive score for which ones are going to do the best. I would leverage a lot more of those tools because as a one-person crew, we have this tool that will allow you to just exponentially increase the amount of testing and the output that you're able to produce.
Great. And over at the top of the funnel, more from a 30,000 foot view, how do you get inside of the mind of the avatar? Like when you go to target the audience, what's your method for figuring out, okay, how do we find the right buyer for this product?
Yeah, so I do a lot of things. One of the first things I do is I read a lot. Last year I read how many books? Like 55. When I'm writing copy, I'll read books that are written for that audience. I've written copy. I've done a lot in the financial publishing space. So I've read books about how to be a day trader, right? How to be an investor. And that I think gives me a lot of context when I'm writing this copy, and even like positioning of the product, right? It gives me that broader perspective to know how our product fits into the market. And the other thing I do is I read a lot of customer reviews. As many customer reviews as I can.
Customer reviews.
Yeah, a lot of times, like my best ad copy is the language that the customer is using. We do this a lot on Google search, where we want our ad copy to exactly match what the customer is searching for, right? Like, I want the exact words coming out of the customer's fingers as they're typing on Google to be the ad headline that I have there. And we can write copy with that just by looking at what the customers are saying about it. A lot of my best copy has come from customer reviews. I'm scrolling through it and I'm seeing these themes in what people are talking about when they review the product. And then that goes into the headline and the copy we run.
That's real interesting. I never really thought about getting in the head of the buyer by looking at past buyers in the reviews. That's pretty interesting. So Peter, you've had some success. Obviously, running $250 million in ads. That's a lot of money for your clients. Has trickled down to you. What is life like for you today? Having success in the digital marketing space.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because I think that you have to be focused on where you want to go, right? You have to have a destination in mind and work towards that. And for most of my career, I had this goal of kind of like being a digital nomad, traveling wherever I wanted to, working from my laptop. Right now, I'm here in Dusseldorf, Germany, right away from home in a hotel room with a webcam set up like this. And so I achieved what I wanted out of life, right? Like the life I'm living today, where I have an apartment in Vienna, Austria, an apartment in Portugal. I can travel around the Mediterranean as much as I want. Like, that was the goal this whole time. And so now I'm working to like reframe. What am I working towards now? What's the destination I'm working towards now? Because really, these skills that I've learned, and it's media buying, right? I think that I was in the right time, right place at the right time to learn how to manage big budgets on paid media. And those skills have really allowed me to build the life of my dreams, right? Like, if you had asked me, what's your fairy tale dream 10 years ago, it's exactly what I'm doing right now.
And so you're living this fairy tale dream, which is amazing. I'm in that world. I'm surrounded and blessed by being the person that speaks at the events, being the person that's in the green room with other successful people like you. And more than anything, now in 2024, compared to what I used to see in 2007 or 2009, when we were first starting to tell people, you go to events now like Funnel Hacking Live, the Marketer's Cruise, Traffic and Conversion Summit, you're just seeing success all around you. But I know that the people that are here listening, many of them haven't hit that yet. And they're on that journey. What would you say to that person that's watching this podcast interview right now? And underneath this video or somewhere, there's a call to action for them to join the webinar for the training. If that training was the thing that was going to change their life, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I think that it kind of ties back into some of these conversations we already had, right? Like, I try to read a lot because I try to learn a lot, right? Learn from people who have done it, learn from people who have had experiences. I think that everyone has something that they can teach you that we can use to apply to accounts that we're working on or into our careers, right? And so I think that learning is invaluable. And so I think that that's a big part of it. And the second part of it is having your destination in mind, right? Like, I would think long and hard about where you're going, and the decisions you're making right now, like literally right now, impact that. And so either you can pass the opportunity by, or you can take the initiative, join in for the webinar, and learn this information that has potential to make these pivotal changes on your career and your life. And so you can only do that if you know where you're going, have the destination in mind, and then take advantage of these opportunities, like this opportunity that comes by.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. And for those watching, we're going to be doing a webinar. You can see the dates and times right below this video. Make sure to register, because we're going to be talking to you about everything about traffic, from paid media to social media to SEO to organic. Everything you want to know about traffic, you're going to be learning on this webinar. You can learn right below. Just click the button to register. All the times and information are there. Peter, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out to be part of this interview series for the Traffic Syndicate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to work with you more on this.